And we welcome you back to the channel. Hope everybody's having a beautiful week and telling some beautiful stories. In this week's video, I wanted to make a confession. See, I have uploaded a bunch of content on this channel over the past couple of months with the intent of helping people find their voice so that they can tell their story. I don't think I've ever told mine. So here is kind of the bullet points of how I've become the storyteller and so passionate about helping other people tell their stories. The first thing that I wanted to share, my grandfather, who was one of my greatest heroes, he lived outside Dothan, Alabama, in a little town called Webb, Alabama. Now, my granddaddy was an award-winning farmer. Farmed cattle, corn, cotton, soybeans, but his bread and butter were peanuts. My sister and I and my mom were down visiting in that summer that I turned 10. Now, my sister and I were visiting along with my mom that summer that I turned 10 years old. And that summer that I turned 10 years old was super dry. Like, they got very little rain. Now, my grandfather had these long irrigation rigs. There was a patch of peanuts that was dying. And he suspected that the timer that was used for those irrigation rigs to go off wasn't working. So he invited my sister and I to ride over there with him when it was supposed to go off. And this was around like maybe 10 o'clock at night. There were a ton of lightning bugs out that night. And this man had me so convinced that those lightning bugs were this race of alien monkeys that were put on the planet to sabotage irrigation equipment that I just had to do something about it. I just had to do something with it. So over the next couple of weeks, I begged and pleaded with my mom, help me write this. And we finally did. We worked together a little story. I did some crude drawings. Dad typed it up and we handed it to him for his birthday in August. Absolutely loved it. I think he cried. I knew that the consequence of not telling that story, I think intuitively I knew that my grandfather, I would never get that moment with him. And it's just kind of grown and multiplied from there. Now, oddly enough, even though I'm not a musician, one of my favorite aspects of storytelling is using music. And that really started when I came home from school one day when I was 16. Now, my dad was the ultimate music connoisseur. He was a musician, knew a lot of these guys. My dad handed me an album. The cover was black. The lone color on it was this red ribbon that led to this woman kind of in the corner who was in like the shadows and the silhouette. Now keep in mind, I had heard of Steely Dan at that point, but I don't think I ever truly experienced them. This was Steely Dan's, to my mind, still their best album. An album called Asia came out just a few months after I was born. We put it on this turntable, pressed play, and really from the opening groove, the opening riff of the lead-off song Black Cow to the end, it's truly one of the most important experiences I've had, not necessarily as a storyteller, but as an artist. I was 7 years old, December 1st, 1984, a day that will just really live in my memory for the rest of my life. And even after I'm gone, I'll probably still be in heaven talking about it. Now, for those who don't know, the Iron Bowl is the annual college football rivalry game between Alabama and Auburn. It's usually played the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Back in the 70s and 80s, sometimes that date kind of fluctuated a little bit, and it was on the first weekend in December back in 1984. Alabama football in 1984, it was not the same thing that they are today. This was 2 years after Coach Bryant passed away, and that season was a mess. Alabama was on the verge of upsetting Auburn, and they were a pretty big underdog that day. It was kind of a defensive game. Late in the third quarter, about 3 minutes left, Auburn was driving. They had the ball at the Alabama 1 yard line, and Alabama led 17-15. If you're a football fan at all, you would imagine that the logical move would be to kick a chip shot field goal and make Alabama try to drive for a go-ahead field goal of their own. That's not what Auburn did. They had it 4th and goal at the Alabama 1. They lined up in the full house wishbone. It is completely anachronistic in football nowadays. In the full house wishbone, there are 3 running backs. There is a fullback and 2 halfbacks. The fullback was a man named Brent Fullwood. who went on to play in the NFL. And one of the halfbacks was a freshman by the name of Vincent Jackson, but you probably know him better as Bo Jackson. The play that was called was intended for Brent Fullwood. Fullwood was supposed to have gotten the handoff, turned the right side, and went in for the touchdown. If everything went right, that's exactly what was going to happen. See, both halfbacks were supposed to kind of act as lead blockers for this play. Only Bo Jackson didn't get that memo. Bo went left, the play went right, and Brent Fullwood was a sitting duck. A couple of people who were super excited about this was my Aunt Joy and her husband Carrie. My Aunt Joy was my mom's younger sister. They were going to choose to celebrate by doing a little shopping, doing a little retail therapy, and then having dinner and some drinks. They got in their brand new Datsun 280Z. Now, they lived outside Ashford, Alabama. And to get to town, as everybody called it, to get to Dothan, you had to go down this long stretch of highway called Highway 52, or some might also know it as Columbia Highway. Kind of an abandoned backcountry road where people, even to this day, drive very fast. And somebody was trying to pass Joy and Carrie's car. They misjudged and clipped the left front of their car, sending them tumbling into a ditch. Joy was dead on the spot. I think Carrie was on life support for a day before his mom had the plug pulled. I was 7 years old. We did not handle that well. Mom went into a depression that really lasted the rest of her life, and it affected all of us. I felt the most comfortable in isolation. Like I would literally hide in my room for up to 22 hours a day. But this also helped me, I think, cultivate an incredible imagination. The way that I told those stories, especially that last one, really took a lot of healing. It took a lot of crying, punching walls. It just took a lot of healing. It took me finding a shovel, and in some cases a pickaxe and dynamite, for me to be able to get to the gold in those stories. In fact, I wrote an entire book about that. Mining for My Voice, how a meek and scared boy uncovered a world-rattling voice. It's available in paperback, hardcover, Kindle, and audiobook, and I will link to all of that in the description. And I write extensively about a lot of this stuff in this book. My point in sharing all this stuff is that being a transformational storyteller and using your voice to transform the world, to using your voice to change the world, this work ain't easy. It's damn difficult. It's challenging, but it's some of the most rewarding work you could possibly do. I've done the work. I'm still doing the work. And I want to help you do the work so that you can find your voice to tell your story. First of all, if you got anything out of this video, if you've got any value out of this video at all, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, because I'd love to connect with you. You can follow me on the social media machine at Ryan Hall Writes on Facebook, Twitter, yes, it's still Twitter, and Instagram. Or you can shoot me a good old-fashioned email, which is also in the description below. Or if you're ready to dig in and start telling your story, schedule a call with me. You can find a link to my Calendly in the description below. My mission in life is to help people find their voice so that they can tell the story of what tried to break them. If you knew me as a younger child, if you knew me as a younger man, you know how far I've come. This work is transformative. It's transformational. It's difficult, but the rewards are astronomical.